As strikes in Iran resume, the IDF spokesperson declares that Tehran is no longer immune, it is exposed to Israeli attacks. Welcome to this special edition of Boots on the Ground Live. I'm your host, Yair Pinto, reporting the whole truth about what is happening in Israel now. Iranian media have been reporting throughout the day on Saturday that the Israeli Air Force has returned to strike multiple targets in the country of Iran, including in the capital, Tehran, and the Kermascha area. Explosions were also heard at the Isfahan power station, and the IDF spokesperson confirmed that Israel struck 40 targets in Tehran, while Iranian media outlets also reported a strike at the international airport west of Tehran. These reports also included an explosion in a fighter jet hangar, and attacks on air defensive array systems gave Israel's Air Force unprecedented freedom over the capital of Iran, while the Air Force commander said, "We are enhancing our air superiority in Iran." However, Iranian officials have sent a threat to America, to Britain, and to France, saying, "We will hit your bases if you assist Israel with interceptions against our missiles." And regarding the nuclear negotiations, Tehran's foreign ministry said that the United States rendered talks meaningless when it allowed attacks on us. But the IDF also had something to say about these negotiations. In a statement on Saturday, the IDF spokesperson's office said, "If we deny them air defense and ballistic missiles, they will have no air force. Taking away the nuclear program will bring them back to the negotiations on better terms for us." But it's not just air defense and ballistic missiles. After publishing the names of senior Iranian army and Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps figures terminated in the strikes, the IDF spokesperson now reveals the identities of 9 nuclear scientists who were eliminated in the first day of the strikes. The nuclear facilities at the Natanz were also severely damaged, and at the facility in Isfahan, a component was hit that will cause years of delay. At Fordo, the Iranians claim strikes that Israel denies, but there is one important site also in Isfahan that the Air Force skipped. The bottom line is that the nuclear program has not yet suffered a fatal blow. However, the regime is in big trouble, and its days might be numbered. However, for now, Iran is sending a message to Israel saying, "We have moved to the next stage of the war," while the United States is brushing off Iran's warning and standing by Israel, contributing to the defense of Israel against the missile barrages that came our way last night. And speaking of which, Iran is calling the barrages Operation True Promise number 3. And although most of the weapons that they fired at Israel were intercepted, some did get through and cause damage, fatalities, and also injuries to the residential neighborhoods of Tel Aviv and some of its suburbs in the center of Israel. And Defense Minister Katz declared that by attacking civilian communities, Iran crossed red lines. The Ayatollah regime will pay. Of course, Iran still has hundreds of missiles it can still fire at Israel, and the barrages are expected to continue. In fact, I might have to cut this broadcast short and run to the bomb shelter again, like I did last night. But Iran's ability to organize these barrages has been severely degraded, as they have lost many of their senior commanders and technicians who knew how to do it and had the authority to give orders. For that matter, a plan to fire hundreds of missiles at Israel in the immediate time frame after an Israeli attack did not materialize, and even the barrages they eventually did fire at us were fairly small. And Saturday was also a holiday in Iran, so maybe there was some delay caused because of this as well. We can't assume it will continue like this today and tomorrow. In any case, our neighbors in this Arab region, the Arab countries around us are not sure how to respond to what they see that is happening. On the one hand, they declare that Iran has lost its deterrent power and faces another great trouble, and on the other hand, they know that they are still vulnerable to what's left of the IRGC. So for now, they're not talking and not taking any chances and have issued statements of displeasure at Israel's attacks. I think that will change quickly if they see Israel decisively winning this war. In Iran, there is panic and fear of the internal police who are threatening to punish Mossad collaborators, which sounds a lot like what Hamas is doing in the Gaza Strip to the Palestinian people. However, it might not be completely unjustified, as footage showing Mossad covert agents preparing the opening blow has shaken Tehran again. 5 activists have already been arrested on suspicion of collaboration with Israel. Authorities warned citizens with detailed instructions to pay attention and to report pickup truck movements, and claimed that they seized vehicles carrying UAVs ready for launch. Confusion and fear are running wild in Iran, and justified or not, it will slow them down and cause all kinds of problems for them. So guys, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on day 617 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region that are acting under the orders of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards, which is the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East, now in a direct war against Iran. So guys, keep spreading the truth, share, and follow us. And when we ask you to follow, that means to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It helps us reach more people with what's going on here. But before we start, I want to say shalom to my dear friend Mati Shoshani in our TBN studios in Jerusalem. Mati, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, yeah. It's been a busy couple days, but it's been good. It's been good.
Did you sleep a little bit?
A little bit is the key word. It's been. I think we all had an amazing night last night. It was, I think, the most expensive light show I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, lots of what was it? Like expensive fireworks, basically.
Very expensive fireworks, yes. Incredibly so. Incredibly so.
Yeah.
And I think we're living in an opportune time, and I don't say this lightly. I was thinking last night, I was standing out with my soldiers south of where I am right now in Judea, looking up to the sky, and I was filled with a deep appreciation and respect for the men and women who created the weapon systems that did everything that protected our country yesterday, and more so as the information coming out about what Israel's been able to do with and regarding the Iranians in this attack. It gave me an incredible amount of respect, both to God's sovereignty and guiding hand, but also to the steadfast dedication that people have carried for many, many, many years now. Some of these plans have been, they've been 10 years in the making. They've been possibly longer than that in the making, and they show an unbelievable, unprecedented level of planning, level of dedication, meticulous attention to detail, and more so also a creativity that is beyond throwing money at a problem. And I think that was incredibly impressive to see. I felt proud the last 24 hours or so to see what our country's been able to do against an adversary that is sworn to destroy us and our way of life. And I think it's important to note that. And I also felt blessed over the unquestionable and unshaking support that we've experienced from the U.S. Since the strike happened. I think it was a little, it was a little weak the first couple hours of it. And the minute the attack became clear and clear what was happening, the support that we experienced from the U.S. was a very strong backwind that we needed. It signaled to everyone else in this region that this attack is going to continue until it carries out its course, and that the U.S. is behind us. We've heard rumors of them actually being there, not necessarily on the ground, but in the air, helping us fend off some of the attacks, some of the drone swarms that came our way. But overall, I think we're standing here in a unbelievable historical moment that we're going to talk about for many, many years to come. And I feel, again, it's been a hard day for the people of Israel. You know, we've lost people, we've had injured people, but again, you know, we were out looking at the skies throughout last night. The number of projectiles that we were seeing way up in the atmosphere, coming, you know, crossing through that back into you know, into the atmosphere and into Israel, and being intercepted both in space and also closer to the ground in Israel. Unbelievable success for that system. Again, there's tragedy with the destruction of homes and the people that were injured, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, what we've been able to deliver to the Iranians, a nation that's about 10 times bigger than us, and what they've been able to deliver to us, overwhelming victory for the people of Israel, for the technological might of the people of Israel, for the support that we've experienced from the US for decades in aircraft and technology, shared budgets for R&D, especially in military applications. Just an amazing show of ability, of technological depth, and also of incredible creativity. And I walked away from this feeling proud. I think we're all still apprehensive, myself included, yourself included. We're sort of looking over my shoulder to see what's coming next, because we're expecting this evening to be a heated one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, Mati. And I want to give some statistics regarding what happened so far in this attack. So the latest report indicate that 450 targets have been destroyed, and the door to Tehran is now open. Iran has responded so far with 4 salvos of drones and missiles towards Israel, resulting in 3 fatalities and 72 wounded. However, Iran's air defensive systems and their obsolete fleet of combat aircrafts have been taken off the board, leaving the airspace between the Iran-Iraq border and Tehran open for Israeli aircrafts to operate freely. And this is the second stage of this campaign as we move into the second day of the operation, having already destroyed 150 targets, more than 450 components, and more than 20 military commanders and several nuclear scientists and technicians, as well as other senior figures in the Tehran regime. And once again, the Air Force struck the nuclear site in Isfahan. This site was established in 1990. During the 2000, a uranium enrichment center was set up there, and the reconversion process allowed the conversion of uranium infrastructure for military use. So the metallic uranium enrichment infrastructure and reconversion facilities are now destroyed. And in response, Iran fired about 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, and 50 of them fell in open areas requiring no interception, and most of the rest were intercepted, but a few penetrated the defenses and impacted inside the cities of Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, and Rishon LeZion. And according to the IDF, no bases were hit and no damage was done to the readiness of the IDF and especially to the Air Force. However, this is not over yet, and additional fire is expected, and we are preparing for it. Mati, I wanted to ask you, what are the instructions for the people of Israel during these days? Because it's been changing a lot, and it's very hard even for me and for my family to understand when can we leave, how far we need to be from bomb shelters, and what do we need to do.
Well, the people of Israel are still very much in anticipation of what's going to happen. We're expecting there to be continued attacks. And I'd say our government has operated this these last couple of days in a way that is different than what they've done in the past. The government has been much more open about the fact that we can expect a substantial retaliation from the Iranians, and also that the intensity and the severity of that attack might be more than what we're accustomed to in the past. And because of that, they've asked people to stay close to bomb shelters for much of the last couple of days. They've closed off the option of doing public gatherings or meetings, going to school, etc. And they've also continued to warn people that this isn't over yet. I'd say our government has been communicating in a way where they want the public to understand that this is a very substantial, a very serious moment in time where we're not fighting. Again, this is not that Hamas is to be trifled with, but it's not Hamas. This is a whole different game. It's not Hezbollah. It's a whole different game. And we're fighting an ongoing battle that is going to be substantial, that's going to be dangerous. The government, both military and civilian, have been communicating a lot and frequently with the people, asking us, one, to remain vigilant, two, to stay close to bomb shelters and out of public spaces, and two, also encouraging us, telling us how strong the victory has been against Iran so far. And I want to say, and I think this is important, that we're in a weird emotional state as a country right now, because we were expecting, myself included, to spend several days in a bomb shelter or in the military, ducking from bombs. We weren't expecting the victory to be against Iran to be so swift and so substantial. And I need to contextualize this for people. Israel has been, so it was 3 a.m. last night. We're close to, getting on, 18 hours, getting close to 24 hours since that attack started. And the Israeli Air Force has been flying sorties throughout the skies of Iran undisturbed. And if you've seen any of the footage coming out of Iran, time and time again, it's Israeli planes just flying over the skies of Iran undisturbed by the Iranian forces. And this is something we didn't see in the past. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, Mati. So the purpose of the operation is first to prevent the missile threat, and Iran is producing on a mass production scale, and there is no air defensive system that could stop the quantities of missiles that they manufacture. If we had waited, we would not have been able to block such a large-scale rocket attack in the future. As it is, Iran has a large quantity of missiles which we will have to face in this current campaign. So we are monitoring and we are ready in the various arenas. And right now, the Iranian front has become the main military arena and the Gaza Strip a secondary arena, while we place the release of the hostages at the top of the IDF objectives. So we will make operational adjustments, including moving some forces to strengthen capabilities in other arenas. And Hezbollah is currently sending signals of support to Iran, but is careful not to join the fighting. And Iran gave permission to all the proxies to act against Israel, but most of them had not responded with such enthusiasm to this initiative, and I don't blame them. Mati, the fact that you are now in reserve together with thousands of IDF soldiers means that Israel is preparing for an escalation from the Palestinian terrorist groups in Judea and Samaria, from Hamas, and from Hezbollah. Can you let us know what is the mission of this new deployment of the IDF?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's a little more complex than that. The IDF is in a different operating space than it was in the past. The IDF has no intention to repeat the mistakes we made in October 7th, 2023. And because of that, it is very, very strong in every single sector that it's present in and operating in, both in the Gaza Strip and also in Judea and Samaria, where I'm currently located. And what we're doing right now is there's an anticipation and expectation of a possible flare-up of local terrorism in Judea and Samaria, or possibly in Israel. But more importantly, the army doesn't do just that. The army is also involved in safeguarding the civilian population when it comes to events such as this, rockets coming from the sky, in helping with mass casualty events or engineering issues and stuff like that. So the army is involved in those things, but specifically what we're doing right now is for any possibility that would come our way, the Israeli army is ready. And I'd say more than that, also the civilian front is ready. And it's every entity that you can imagine: fire departments, police departments, search and rescue units. The army's been calling in search and rescue units in reserves at great numbers to make sure that with any type of strike of a missile, such as we saw last night and early this morning, the army would be prepared to assist, and every civilian entity would be prepared to assist. And I think this takes us to another really interesting place, which is this isn't just an Israel thing. We're fighting a war that also involves the Americans. And the US has really stepped up to the plate when it comes to what's been happening here right now. And let me explain that. The US is standing behind Israel, both in verbal support, also in a clear statement to the Iranians stating, guys, whatever you think you're going to be doing, this ends with an agreement where you have no bomb and no nuclear material, or with this war continuing to the point where you exactly reach that same point once more of no enriched uranium, no more centrifuges, which is something the Israeli Air Force has been working on time and time again. So we're in a really, really interesting place here, where this isn't just an Israel thing. This is a regional conflict led by Israel. And I think we need to contextualize what we're talking about here. Israel is a small country in the Middle East, and we are punching way above our weight class. We're fighting one of the regional powers, and we're beating them. We're fighting a country that has spent tens of billions of dollars year on year on year on building terrorism infrastructure, and we've beat them. We've been able to run multiple bombing missions time and time again on the same sites, uninhibited by the Iranian ground forces or anti-aircraft missiles. We were able to intercept an unbelievable and unprecedented number of ballistic missiles launched at Israel at one barrage after the other and stop every single one of them, again, at an incredibly high success rate. And I think, one, we should feel very proud of what we've achieved in this time. And two, something unique happened here, where Israel, for many, many years, was able to keep a secret. And not only that, between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, we were able to run a long game in deceiving the Iranian enemy into feeling a sense of complacency and almost as if they had more time than they actually did. And we've done so beautifully day and day again. And here we are. We're running multiple days of attacks time and time again. We've done so undisturbed by the Iranians. We've seen images, and it's amazing what we've seen of Israeli fighter jets just maneuvering close to the ground within Iran, dropping bombs, turning around to make sure that they got the target, running a second bombing mission on the same target, taking a picture, saying, let's go and make sure we got it one more time. Amazing, amazing success. And again, the Iranians are an adversary to take seriously, and Israel has taken them seriously. We've prepped for this for years. We planted intelligence and assets on the ground within Iran. And then when we struck, we responded not by going back to business, but myself and tens of thousands of other Israelis are in reserves, making sure this doesn't turn into a local issue and it remains something way outside of the borders of this country. And I hope that's what it stays. My hope, Yair, my prayer is that in a couple of days this blows over, we're done. Iran agrees to whatever agreement is presented to them by the Americans, and we move into a reality where the Iranians no longer have the ability to push for a bomb in our lifetime. And that is what we've been hoping for. That's what we've been praying for, is for a strong agreement. And this is going to be the best one. A strong agreement that has proven the Iranian weakness time and time again, and possibly, which is something you and I talk about all the time, something better for the Iranian people that isn't this Islamic radical and radicalizing regime, but some kind of sense of hope and for a future that includes peace and prosperity for the Iranian people.
Yeah, definitely, Mati. And the fact that we are smiling after being in bomb shelters for 2 days and being under attack by multiple ballistic missiles and drones means that we have, God protecting us, and He's filling our heart with joy. And I think that we are representing the entire nation of Israel. I mean, despite the fact that we are at war more than 600 days, and now we launched this preemptive strike against Iran, the people of Israel feel more secure rather than less secure, because we are taking matters to our own hands. We do not let the terrorist regime of Tehran move closer to achieving nuclear weapons capabilities, which will make them basically untouchable, like North Korea or any other nuclear power in this region. So, and on top of that, we get the show of the Israeli Mossad, the Israeli Air Force, that are doing as they will on the skies and inside the cities and the capitals of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And that's really encouraging to see. And I wanted to say thank you to all of our viewers that are joining us day after day, that you want to know what's happening in Israel. Thank you very much for praying for the peace of Jerusalem. I've been receiving dozens of support texts via, Facebook, Instagram, and here in the comments on YouTube. So thank you so much for praying for us, for our families, for the IDF, for wisdom to our leaders. It really means the world to us. We really appreciate that. And guys, if you want to help us reach more people with what is happening in Israel, please hit that subscribe button and share these videos. You can also leave a comment, a thumbs up, hit a super thank you, or whatever you want to do to help us create more videos and share this content with more people around the world. And now, let's get into some specifics about the Israeli operation. On Friday and this morning, the Air Force focused on two main efforts in the skies in Iran, hitting and denying Iran's anti-aircraft capabilities and hitting and denying its ballistic missile and its UAV launch capabilities. And secondary, with the forces were allocated, they struck the nuclear facilities. So the Air Force commander, Major General Tomer Bar, formulated the strike plan with former Chief of Staff Lieutenant General in Reserve, Herzi Halevi, and later with the current Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, and they set the order of striking targets in Iran based on the urgency of the threat, not the importance of the target itself. So the opening move began even before Friday morning, and in recent weeks and days, when capabilities in Lebanon, in Syria, and Yemen were removed, where Iran tried to develop proxies in the form of suicide drones, UAVs, and anti-ship missiles that would endanger Israel and the state's strategic installations. And yesterday, the opening strikes included hitting Iran's General Staff headquarters and eliminating the three military command arrays. One is the Iranian General Staff, headed by the Chief of Staff, the IRGC headquarters, and its commander, the Iranian Air Force headquarters, including its commander as well. So this was done to create chaos and damage command and control in Iran. And immediately focused its effort on striking surface-to-air and surface-to-surface missiles array. The Air Force wanted aerial freedom of movement over Iran, but it also understood that it must immediately reduce the scope of missile and UAV arrays in order to allow Israel's air defensive systems to cope better with the threat. The Iranians have invested billions of dollars for decades since the end of the Iran-Iraq war in building a missile force. They did so out of necessity because sanctions on the country for almost 50 years did not allow them to build a modern air force with advanced fighter jets. The Iranian Air Force has almost no fighter aircrafts except for very old F-4 Phantom jets that have no proper spare parts these days. So given the situation, Iran had to make do with Russian Scud missiles and others which were upgraded in Iranian defensive industries. And here's a little footnote. Iran surpasses Israel many times over in the scientific scope of its people. The number of academies, the scope of the research, the publication of academic papers by Iranian scientists, all these are hundreds of percent larger than the Israeli publications. Therefore, despite economic sanctions, Iran has developed an impressive weapons industry that includes upgrading Russian missiles alongside nuclear and other capabilities. And some of these missiles operate due to the sanction constraints on liquid fuel and not solid fuel, which may slow the launch rate between missiles on every launcher. In addition, large-scale logistics around each launcher are harder. And last night, the Air Force commander reported hits on many Iranian launchers and ballistic missile target centers. The initial goal of the Air Force and the Mossad was to reduce Iran's ability to launch from thousands of missiles per day to a few hundreds, and now the Air Force's goal is to reduce the scale to a few dozens of missiles every day. That's a good goal. And the New York Times reported that the original Iranian plan was to launch up to 1,000 missiles to overwhelm Israel's air defense. And according to two IRGC insiders, this is the information that we have at the moment. But Israel's strikes blocked the rapid deployment, and Iran managed to launch only about 100 missiles in the first wave. And the elimination of air defensive arrays carried out by the Air Force eases the tasks because now Israeli aircrafts can patrol Iran's skies, and Hatna launchers immediately. 1 second, I have some information coming to me now. Guys, you can leave in the comments for a second. Do you think that Israel will intensify the strikes or will reduce them? Let me know. Okay, can you, 1 second, I think that Mati is still with us.
I am, yeah.
Good, good. Mati, can you let us know what are we going to expect in the next coming days from the Israeli military, and what can Iran do in response? Can they do anything more than a few hundred or a few dozens rockets per day? I mean, after we discussed this line of successful targets to their ability to launch missiles at Israel. I mean, they wanted to launch 1,000 rockets per day at once. And I don't think that our aerial defensive systems would have been able to intercept so many missiles at once. But that's not the case now. It looks like they're having a very hard time to launch even a few dozens rockets at once.
Yeah, I think those are very complex answers. There's no exact answer to that, or very complex questions, I should say. But what we do know is the following. Israel's going to continue striking in Iran until we finish the mission. It's been very clear, made very clear by our government and by others. And that means is we're going to destroy all the nuclear-related facilities that we can, which we've done a lot of. And we've destroyed also a lot of the anti-air batteries, which has allowed us an incredible level of freedom of travel throughout the Iranian airspace. But here's where it gets interesting. If I answer just your question was, what will Iran do back to Israel? Well, Iran can't do much more directly to Israel than what they've currently done. They have drones that can reach Israel. They have ballistic missiles that can reach Israel. They don't have fighter jets that can launch a counterattack. They obviously don't have a navy or anything like that that would be able to make it here, or obviously ground forces that could make it into Israel in the foreseeable future, at least. What they do have, though, is proxy warfare. And I think that's really the next step of this entire campaign, which is if the U.S. gets pulled into this, and so far it hasn't been officially, then the Iranians would go back to doing what they've always planned to do, which is to use sabotage to destabilize the region. And what that would look like, it would be attacking ships traveling through, let's say, the Arabian Sea or the Red Sea. But there's another option here, which Iran has used in the past through Hezbollah and has tried to do themselves. There's an option of striking Israel-related targets outside of the country. And what that looks like is ambassadors of the Israeli government, emissaries of Israeli companies, people that are connected to large Jewish organizations, or possibly related to the Israeli government in one capacity or another, prominent Israeli businessmen or Jewish businessmen outside of the state of Israel. And this isn't a figment of my imagination. These are things we've seen the Iranians try to do in the past, go after what they would perceive or they perceive as Zionist or Israeli or Jewish targets, because again, to them, this is a thing about religion and faith, not just about political boundaries, etc. So in that sense, that might be something that they would do. And I know from multiple sources that the Israeli government has been very, very cautious about getting anyone who's related to Israel in an official capacity outside of this country to become incredibly cautious with what they do and work with a lot more caution and security than what they previously were required to do as they would travel around or go around. And I'm talking about countries like the US, countries in Europe, that you would imagine, generally speaking, that there would be an incredibly safe haven for anyone from any country. Israelis are now being careful there, and especially members of the Israeli government or ambassadors, both by the title or by role of the Israeli government, are being very, very cautious with where they travel internationally. Let me say one more thing, which is that Iran has an option of turning this into a destabilizing event for the entire region. And I think the reason they haven't done that is because they've been so unsuccessful in fighting off Israel, they really have no reason right now to strike against other countries, such as Saudi or the Emiratis or the Qataris in this region, or against maybe shipping vessels related to international conglomerates. They don't have an intention or reason to do that because they've already been taking enough fire fighting only Israel as it is. And I'll remind you that their modus operandi always was in the past that they're going to try to destabilize the region and take a financial price by stopping shipments, raising the price of oil by attacking the Saudis and oil tankers traveling by the Hormuz Straits outside of Iran. And they haven't done that probably because they're afraid of doing it at this point. They've taken such a beating from the Israeli attacks, not just now, but also over the last 18 months, that opening another front against another country simply doesn't make sense for them. So to recap, we're going to probably see another day, or possibly a little more than that, of Iranian limited attacks on Israel. I don't think we're going to see 1,000 missiles. By the way, the word came out, I think it was earlier today, that Khamenei tried to get them to launch 1,000 ballistic missiles at once. They just simply didn't have the chain of command or the technical ability to do so because of the intensity of the Israeli strikes up to that moment. And because of that, we were predominantly successful in intercepting their strikes. But we could see more drones. We could see them try to get some kind of faction in Syria to send a drone or missiles or something like that. We could see what we would call sort of solidarity strikes, maybe from Gaza, maybe from something within Judea and Samaria, or even possibly within Israel itself. Anything to get some kind of public statement that says we're not completely defeated. But I want to be clear, Yair, and I want to leave people with this sense. What Israel did to Iran is a public humiliation. We beat them into the ground in a way that they weren't expecting. We surprised them. We did it together with the Americans in a way they didn't see coming. They thought, and I think me and you talked about this a lot in the last weeks, they thought they got everyone wrapped around their little finger and we were playing their game of endless negotiation. But the US and Israel saw through their bluff and decided to take action when action was needed. And the action that was taken was far greater, far more intense, and I have to say this, much better planned and meticulously orchestrated than anyone could have foreseen. I think if we had a conversation 3 days ago and we said, what is the best case scenario for the first 72 hours of an Israeli strike on Iran? Actually, by the way, I read an article in an Israeli paper over the weekend, excuse me, that outlines that. It was written in Thursday night before the attack. And it outlines as one of the options exactly this.
What paper is this? I need to subscribe as well.
No, it's a free paper. It's Israel Today. Okay. Anyway, but they ran a whole analysis, and to see how accurate it was that Israel was truly able to bring down Iran in a way where they wouldn't be able to retaliate substantially was amazing. We just need to continue being vigilant that they don't find a way to do something that would publicly create the perception of a win against Israel one way or another.
Okay, well, yeah. Mati, thank you so much. I know that you are busy. You have a few hours to go be with your family, go to sleep, take a shower, and I'm sure we'll see you again tomorrow on another update on this war. Stay safe, Mati.
I will. Thanks, Yair.
And guys, I wanted to get back to the numbers of this strike to let you know the boots on the ground style of what happened in this unprecedented operation that is still ongoing in Iran. So the IDF understands that hitting the launch arrays will ease the burden on Israel's home front and prefers to reach quickly a situation where it can conduct the fighting while also running normal life in Israel, including opening the workspace and reopening the skies and even reopening the schools. But guys, what happened in the last couple of days was not just that Israel succeeded in destroying multiple Iranian missile launchers and nuclear facilities. At the same time, Israel was attacked. 6 million people, or even 10 million people, I'm not even counting correctly the number of people in Israel, rushed to the bomb shelters and stayed there for a few hours out of the last 24 hours in fear of rockets coming. And the anti-rocket defensive systems did an amazing job intercepting 95% of these rockets. But some rockets did manage to penetrate. And on top of that, the debris of the interception rockets also fall on cities, on houses, and cause severe damage. So in these damages, Israelis get hurt, and more than 70 Israelis were injured in these strikes, including more than some 3 fatalities according to what we know so far. And when you have rockets, most of the country goes to bomb shelters and stay out of the public areas and the open areas. But I only say most of the country because in Israel, we have a first response team called Magen David Adom. They are Israel's Red Cross, and they basically go towards the fire, towards the landing site of the rockets to help and treat people and save their lives when it matters most. They come by bikes, they come by ambulances. They are normal civilians with normal jobs, and they leave everything and rush to save lives within an average of 2 minutes. These people are called Magen David Adom, and I'm proud to partner with them since this war began. And guys, they really save lives. But all of their operations is funded by donations. There's a saying in Israel, if you save one life, it's like you saved the entire world. So guys, if you want to be part of helping this organization, Magen David Adom, please go to www.savelifeisrael.com. Again, that's www.savelifeisrael.com and help save lives in Israel through Magen David Adom. So guys, thank you so much for helping this organization. And I'll go back to the operation in Iran and what Israel is still doing in the Islamic Republic. But I want to give you a few minutes to leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from and what do you think that Israel should do now in the next couple of days, as I'm checking the updates that we have here. Okay, I think I'm here. Good. Okay. So guys, Iran's fire capabilities were significantly reduced. This is a situation that will grant Israel a broad mandate to continue the main mission, which is damaging the nuclear arrays. And since only after removing the immediate threats of air defensive arrays and fire at the Israeli home front, will the Israeli Air Force, hopefully also the United States Air Force, will be able to move against the nuclear facilities and the missile assembly plants, which are located in dozens of sites in the Iranian desert, and most of them deep underground. And speaking of which, Iranian media reports said that loud explosions were heard at the port of Bushehr, and later it was reported that oil and gas infrastructures in the area were attacked. And according to assessment, if Israel indeed hits civilian infrastructures, Iran will increase its target bank in Israel in response. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Saturday that very soon you will see Israeli Air Force jets over Tehran skies. We will strike every site and every target of the Ayatollah regime. We achieved successes. We hit very hard the main enrichment site of Iran. We hit the lead team of the engineers leading the nuclear project. And I cannot elaborate further at this moment, but imagine Iran with 20,000 ballistic missiles. We cannot allow that. Therefore, Israel acted against Iran to destroy their production capabilities. So now, let me tell you a little bit more about some of the evil men who have been threatening to destroy Israel for decades, but won't be doing that any longer. So the IDF announced that in the opening blow of Operation KeLavi, the head of the intelligence directorate of the armed forces and the commander of the IRGC surface-to-surface missile array in Iran were eliminated. In addition, more than 20 military commanders of the Iranian regime were terminated, and this is according to the army's statement. According to the IDF spokesperson's unit, the head of the intelligence directorate of the armed forces, Gholam Raez Marhabi, was responsible for the Iranian regime's intelligence assessment and was considered the most senior intelligence officer in Iran. Marhabi took part in assessments, intelligence preparations, and management of attacks against Israel during the past year and before. He was a significant, highly respected senior figure within the regime and close to the chief of staff Mohammad Hussein Bagheri, who was also eliminated. The commander of the ballistic missile array in the IRGC Air Force, Mohammad Bagheri, was responsible for most of Iran's surface-to-surface and long-range cruise missiles and its capabilities to launch attacks, which constitute a central threat to the State of Israel. Bagheri was in charge of fire arrays and took an active part in military decision-making during Iran's attacks on Israel in April and also in October. Bagheri was eliminated together with the IRGC Air Force Commander Amir Ali Hajizadeh and several other seniors in an underground headquarters in Tehran. So guys, these attacks are just the beginning of Israel's plan to destroy the nuclear facility and the missile program of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We are at TBN Israel here every day, also throughout the weekend, helping you know what is happening so that you'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. If you want to help us, please hit that subscribe button and never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. Really, by hitting this button, you tell YouTube and the algorithm to share this video to more and more people because you want to watch and you want to know what's happening in Israel, boots on the ground. And guys, following the waves of strikes between Israel and Iran that began on Friday morning, an Iranian source told CNN, we will strike the regional bases of any country that defends Israel. The statement comes after reports that the United States armed Israel in parallel with nuclear talks with Iran, and also after United States participation in intercepting the missiles that were launched yesterday evening, and again also earlier this morning in Iran's response salvos. As I said before, some missiles got through, causing destructions such as we have not seen in Israel in a very, very long time. In Rishon LeZion, in Ramat Gan, and in Tel Aviv, Iranian ballistic missiles packed with explosives struck right in the heart of densely populated areas, towers, houses, and the spaces between them, causing immense devastations, and 3 people were killed and dozens more were injured. Some apartments were completely destroyed, and vehicles went up in flames, and many citizens suddenly found themselves without a roof over their heads. And in the wake of this morning's direct hit on a residential building in Rishon LeZion, in which 2 civilians were murdered, it is now revealed that a former senior defense official lives just a few meters from where the missile struck. The official, who once headed a major security organization in Israel, was unharmed, as were his family members. He now serves as the CEO of one of Israel's leading energy companies and is a well-known public figure. And according to him, the missile hit only about 250 meters from his home. And when asked whether the missile was launched with the intention of targeting him, the official replied, the problem is that Iran haven't updated their lists since 2007. And salvos were fired towards Israel throughout the night, and at about 5:20 a.m., a particularly lethal volley was fired at the center, including several direct hits. Amongst them was a direct hit on a residential building in Rishon LeZion, and a man and also a woman who were critically wounded there were evacuated to the hospital where they were pronounced dead. And about 20 additional civilians were injured in this direct hit. So the IDF assessments indicate a success rate of more than 95% in intercepting the missiles. Some of the impacts are attributed to intercepted debris. And as a footnote, additional Middle Eastern countries helped with the interceptions, and together with the United States Central Command, a senior Israeli official confirmed that American forces took an active part in the defense overnight, and apparently no one is intimidated by Iran's threat. Thank God. Guys, let me know in the comments if Israel should be intimidated by the Iranian threats. I want to hear and see what you have to say about this. Okay? Anything? God bless Israel. Thank you so much. Love you, Israeli people. Thank you so much. God bless Israel. Thank you so much, Dorchej Al-Kema. It's really great to see the response, guys. And as always, we said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I love these guys. As always, the first people on the scene of these missile impacts were our partners at Magen David Adom. So Israel was hijacked by the Iranian missiles and the drones, and for a moment, the whole region held its breath. But when the explosions hit, Magen David Adom was already there, responding, treating the wounded, and saving lives. Some of their own were injured in the line of duty this time during this attack, and volunteers who ran towards dangers while others were running for cover. That's what they do, every time. But let's be clear, they cannot do this without us, without you. Ambulances, trauma kits, protective gear, training, it all costs money, and it all saves lives. So we have a saying in Israel, whoever saves one life in Israel, it is if they've saved the entire world. This is something that Jesus also said, if you save one of my children, it is if you saved the entire world. So now is the time to step up and go to savelifeisrael.com and support Magen David Adom, because the next call is already coming and they need your help. And guys, getting back to the strikes on Iran, the IDF spokesperson's unit announced that 9 senior scientists and experts in Iran's nuclear project were eliminated as well. They had been advancing the Iranian regime's program to obtain nuclear weapons, but they won't be doing that any longer. And this strike was made possible thanks to precise intelligence gathered by the Intelligence Directorate. All the scientists and the experts who were eliminated were key knowledge centers in Iran's nuclear project, possessing a cumulative experience of decades in the development of nuclear weapons. Many of them were successors of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, the father of the Iranian nuclear project. I'm probably going to mispronounce most of these names, but here they are. Feridonon Abbasi, the nuclear engineering expert. Muhammad Mahdi Ternahi, physics expert. Akbar Matlabi Zadeh, chemical engineering expert. Saeed Barji, materials engineering expert. Amir Hassan Pakhani, physics expert. Abed Ol-Hamid Min Khusher, reactor physics expert. Mansour Agrari, physics experts. Ahmad Raze Zolfakari Darani, nuclear engineering expert. Ali Bakari Katrimi, mechanics experts. Those targets were a central part of the progress towards a nuclear weapon, and their elimination is a significant blow to the Iranian regime's ability to obtain weapons of mass destruction. Israel states that the action was preceded by joint planning and a battle procedure by the Intelligence Directorate and the Air Force, enabling a precise, complex operation thousands of kilometers away from Israel. The joint capability of the intelligence and the air branches was built in recent months through an unprecedented technological and intelligence process. As part of the plan, dozens of research division analysts worked on a secret project to track key nuclear scientists in Iran for years, a team combining technological researchers and experts on the Iranian arena. All of this planning and preparation came together on Friday morning when Israel launched Operation KeLavi, carrying out waves of strikes across Iran. And today, almost 48 hours later, Israel and the entire world is safer because of what has already been accomplished. But there is still much work to be done. And speaking of work to be done, guys, here at TV in Israel, we will continue to spread the truth. So please give us a click on the subscribe button so that you'll never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. You can also leave us a comment, share this video. Anything you do will help us a lot to reach more people so that they'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And guys, on Saturday, the Air Force said it is operating over Iran as over Gaza and Lebanon, meaning almost without any opposition. The statement continued by saying that standing with Air Force jets in Tehran skies is a significant event regardless of what we strike. Iran is a huge country with great risks to Air Force planes. We are stripping threat by threat, including bringing the UAV array within 2,500 kilometers of Israel. So, exactly as Israel did over Gaza and Lebanon, integrating the branch's capabilities and the friction that we had during the war with the Houthis, we will still reach Fordo. And we thwarted the nuclear scientists in a very significant move. There is a nuclear and ballistic missile industry in Tehran that we will also need to deal with. This is coming next. We prepared the Air Force to reach Iran not once a week as initially assessed, but twice a day, as Air Force Commander Major General Tomer Bar demanded. The set plan must not be deviated from, and we must strike the nuclear project and the ballistic missiles first. So the IDF explained that it had reached a deep understanding of where and how the Iranians launch ballistic missiles. Better listen to this. This is good. If we deny them those two capabilities, the Air Force and the ballistic missiles, they will have no Air Force and we will be above them. Taking down the nuclear project will lead to renewed negotiations on better terms for us and for the entire world. And regarding operational functional connectivity and continuity of this war, the Air Force more than tripled in a lightning move the number of one-ways at various locations in case missiles hit existing runways. So all sorties were executed at times set. This is according to the Army. And refueling is based solely on the Air Force with no foreign tankers. No aircrafts were damaged so far, thank God. The campaign, which started on Friday morning, caught the Iranians completely by surprise, and that is kind of strange when you think about it, because recent days felt like preparation for an attack to the extent that the United States President Donald Trump seemed to warn Tehran in advance, saying hours before it happened that it was very likely, though he did not officially confirm that it was imminent. But even before Trump's remarks, many signs indicated that the conflict had reached the point of no return. The exchange of threats between Israel and Iran peaked, and against the backdrop of harsh wars between Iran and the United States, when negotiations between them reached a dead end. Nevertheless, in many places, including in Israel, the impression was that no explosion would occur before Sunday, the date set for a sixth round of negotiations that was described as decisive, leading either to a deal or to a war on Iran's nuclear program. But there were other signs as well, including prominent American moves in recent days, and for example, when Donald Trump announced a reduction in staff and diplomats in this region, the Middle East, United States authorities then urged their citizens to exercise extreme caution. Tehran, however, treated those signs as part of a maximum pressure strategy intended to make them fold at the negotiation table. In other words, they thought it was a bluff. But at the same time, associates claimed that if an attack occurred, it would be limited to push Iran to accept the terms of an agreement. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to spread the truth. So help us, share, follow us, hit that subscribe button, and the most important thing that you can do for Israel, for the Jewish people, for me, for Mati, and for our TBN Israel team here in Israel is to pray. Pray for the IDF soldiers that are fighting, defending us. Pray for Mati as he was called to the IDF reserve to Judea and Samaria. Pray for all the families that need to rush to the bomb shelters multiple times every day in the past few days. Make sure you pray for the children's innocence, for them to grow without fear. God can do all these things. Let's pray for the Iranian people also. Let's pray for the Palestinians in Gaza. Not for Hamas to win this war, but for God to change the hearts of the Palestinian people, the Houthis, and all these enemies that have this supernatural hatred against Israel. Let's pray that they will have a supernatural love towards Israel and towards the Jewish people. And the most important thing that we can do is unite in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. And I want to say thank you to God, first of all, that I could complete this full broadcast without needing to run to the bomb shelter like yesterday. So this is also an improvement. I really feel like the Israeli Air Force destroyed even more missile launchers from Iran because they haven't fired at us yet. As you can see, the skies are clear, no interceptions. So hopefully this will be a peaceful night. Let's pray for that. And guys, I want to say thank you to all of you for watching, for joining, for standing with Israel, and for keeping us in prayer. It's really amazing. We remember that this is a spiritual war, and we need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and see you again next time for another episode of Boots on the Ground.